for council. I think it'd be great to have it as an informative.
Yeah, okay. So we can certainly minute that, but in terms of solar, that you members would support the applicant considering solar PV on this building. Yeah.
Yes, I think.
But obviously it's not subject to this application, is that right, Martin?
Yeah.
Well, I think Chairman, with respect, I think it's been dismissed as a part of a proposal coming forward because the I think the officer, the Heritage Hospital officer did make a comment on it. So I think it could be considered as part of this application.
I mean, I don't think it can be because it hasn't been advertised as that and it's not a part of the plan. So I don't think we can. If it's been discounted and it's been amended to remove those, I don't think we've got powers to add them.
See, on page 31, Chairman, it says well, there's two things I'm going to ask about the PBAU previously on the rear of it. But it says here, because it talked about under page 31, the statement suggests that some of the rear might be UPVC, and that PVs on the southern slopes of the roof are unlikely to be acceptable, which is exactly the same side I'm talking about now. So that has actually been considered, but been dismissed.
Can I just make a point, and this is just from personal experience, that you can actually put solar panels on north-facing elevations. I just wanted to clarify that. The efficiency isn't as great, but my understanding from personal experience is that they still work and they are still sufficient to actually provide household electricity. Having spoken to, I've actually looked into it myself within the last few months on our own home. So I would say that, yes, in this instance, solar panels, according to the Conservation Officer's comments, would not be supported on the southern elevation. But that doesn't discount the fact that they would be suitably located in the garden, and also that they would supply electricity to the homes in that location, in that latter location.
But no one would put them on the north side of a roof where there's no sun, and that's why I'm questioning about whether whether a condition we can.
It's not part of this application. Okay. So I don't know why we're.
Chair, can I just ask,
Sure.
Councillor Lane, what is your suggestion in respect of this application then?
Because of the suggested area of the PV panels and south
Yeah, no, but
slopes, right?
understand
I'm
that.
suggesting that whether
Not
I'm suggesting that possibly you could allow PV panels on the southern slopes.
Understand that. Understand that.
But it's not
that's
part
not
of this
the planning
application.
for.
Yeah.
That's not the planning application. So are you suggesting that what are you suggesting in respect of the application that's before us?
Yeah, I'm suggesting perhaps that could be included within the application.
But it's not.
It's not there. Right.
We will leave it. So what you're saying, they can come back.
They need to come back.
Okay, right. And can I also ask a question regarding the building on the rear? Because the same again, and you're probably going to tell me that's not in it either, and I can't understand this. It's regarding because there's some suggestion within the planning about UPVC on the rear of the property.
Yeah.
Which is in basically more in the modern building, which is the bathroom and such like. Now, could if they wish, because that's been dismissed as well, could they actually use UPVC to the rear of the property and possibly composite door?
It's not in this plan here. in the application.
But it is in here because they dismissed it.
But the applicant has obviously agreed to what Colette has
They've chosen.
suggested.
Okay.
And that's what's obviously in front of us.
Leave it.
Councillor Coombs.
I was going to ask same around UPVC only because the comments are there from conservation officer about UPVC, and then I can see there's something conditioned. So
Yeah, they.
Leave it UPVC. No.
So it's all timber.
so they've gone on to
They've decided that they're happy for timber, and there is conditions, isn't there, around
And that's what I was going to ask. Our conditions have now covered that to make that
Can
clear.
I just qualify that? Initially, they were, it was mooted that they would put PVC on the rear elevation. And we thought it better, given the historic asset to revert to timber on both elevation.
So also, so if you see condition 3, page 33, so timber side panel flush fitting with no external storm proofing and with internal glazing bars. You know, sometimes there's decor which that doesn't like, and it's got slimline double glazing will be acceptable. Okay.
Councillor Letham.
I'm good now, thank
Are
you.
you good as well?
But about PVs as well, so we'll stop that.
Can I just ask,
As I understood it, you couldn't put on a listed building, you can't put them on
the face, or they can't be seen, let's say.
So it
They
needs
can't be-
consent, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it wouldn't be permitted development.
Yeah, sure. Right, on to debate. Is oh, sorry.
Sorry, no debate. I'm coming into debate. I just want to say, could I propose approval of the planning application as set out by the planning officer?
Seconded by Hayward. Thank you.
Yeah, you need to come back. So you need to do the other one.
It's chair and then vote.
Can we vote? Sorry. It's New Year. Yes. Any comments? Or, no? Okay, can we vote on that? Those in favour? Those in favour? Thank you.
It's unanimous, chair.
Thank you very much.
The building one marked, it's exactly the same. Marked is just going to skin bricks. If you need to vote on it.
Chair, would it be helpful to turn the other heater off?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, quite nice. So there's exactly-
But we can't hear because that thing's rattling away, isn't it?
I can hear you. Can't get cold there.
Okay.
Got my scarf if you get that.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, councillor.
Application number 80864, very similar to the last one. Hopefully, so use.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Good morning, members. This is a total listed buildings application 80864. Which is a site plan application to 856. As you'll recollect, the proposal was called into planning committee as the applicant. Application was forwarded by David Wilson Partnerships and one of the associates there, certainly the council member. Excuse me.
Just do briefly what it
I will do. So the site description, as you recollect, is which was through the causeway located in the centre of the historic village of Lankey. As you can see from the aerial photo there, the site is located to the south west of Lankey in the historic centre. The members will also recall that this is a row of 15th century buildings that were remodelled in the 17th century and in the early 20th century. Thatch roof was replaced with a slate roof. The application seeks detailed listed building consents for the repair and alterations to the Grade 2 listed building. This is the intention of the applicant to improve the property's energy efficiency, fire safety, prevent damp and mould ingress while preserving the historic integrity. The key changes include damp and mould reduction, fire protection and energy efficiency. Again, as you'll know, the plans are very detailed, but you can see the line render on the external walls of the property. For a listed buildings application, the key considerations are impact on the heritage asset and ecology. Impact on heritage asset. Local plan policy ST15 gives great weight to the conserving and enhancing heritage assets, their setting and local character. Local policy DM07 supports proposals that conserve heritage and minimise harm, balanced against public benefit. Heritage policy context is DMO7, like I said, and also the National Planning Policy Framework, paragraphs 207, 210, 212 and 215 require great weight to heritage conservation with any harm balanced against public benefits. The proposed external works, as I've said previously, are for the replacement of damaged render, the upgrade of windows and doors to reduce cold bridging, and the replacement of the rear flat roof covering on the rear extension. Internally, which is covered by the listed buildings application, loft hatches and insulation upgrades are proposed. There's a replacement of the internal storage heaters and the mechanical ventilation heat recovery system. The Conservation Officer raises no objections and supports line render and requires timber windows. PV panels are not proposed in this part of the application. Heritage balance and public benefit. The work secure the long-term use, maintenance, and improve living conditions, delivering public benefit and that outweighs any minor harm that would be caused by the application. The proposal complies with the local plan policies DMO7 and SD15 and the relevant NPPF policies I previously mentioned. In terms of ecology, there are no unacceptable ecological impacts identified, and the statutory wildlife duties are satisfied. In conclusion, the proposal accords with the local plan policies, and members are recommended to approve this application, subject to the conditions contained in the officer report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Move approval, Chairman.
No, can I? The question.
Move approval.
Shall we have a vote on that? All in favour?
Mark seconded it.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Misery.
Sorry.
Repetition.
Why not?
It stops the pain. Apparently so.
Did we get a coloured one? We only get black and white.
He's lucky, yeah.
Is that reward for what he did on Monday?
I'll swap that with yours, okay?
I've got.
No, I mean, I want colour. I want.
Okay, application 80969, Ilfracombe Delivery Office.
Thank you. Members, what we're looking at here is an application for conversion of a 5-storey building to deliver a mixed-use scheme comprising of residential accommodation on the upper floors and a commercial use on the lower floors. This is at the former Royal Mail Delivery and Sorting Office in Ilfracombe. So the site is located on the High Street in Ilfracombe, with Northfield Road to the west of the site. So it's a prominent building set in the roofscape plan there of the High Street, Northfield Road to the west. So when you look at the building in context, when you look from the High Street, it is a very significant building which is considered to be of local importance. Whilst it's not listed, it is within the conservation area and does show a prominent setting or prominence within the High Street. That's it in the context of neighbouring properties, and members will note that there is a public house there next door to the property. And then if we switch to the rear of the property, which was the former loading bay at the lower level there, and the upper floor was visible. Shows the tightness of or the proximity of the other residential accommodation in the area. Then just taking that a little bit further, so you can see the property in the context from further away. So you can see how the building sits there in the roofscape, townscape of Ilfracombe. Just interesting to show you the roof form there, obviously in terms of the architectural trickery which used. When you view it from ground floor, you think there's a pitched roof there, but obviously notice you have a mansard type roof, which is flat on the top and then slate on the uprights to that. Shows it all in context. The pitched roof for the back does form part of the application site as well. Just to show you the Dutch dormers in context, looking down towards the high street. So as you can see there, members, this is the existing layout of the lower and ground floors. The lower floor was originally used as storage in terms of the Royal Mail operation. Then the upper floors were the post office counters, obviously which involved also had a safe area and a sort of office to the rear, overseers facilities out on this side, and a separate entrance to the residential accommodation above and associated social club. So as you move up the building, so you can see you had a social club on one floor there, then moving to the flats, four flats off that. Within the existing building, all having its separate entrances. And to show you that in the sectional detail. There'll be no change to the roof proportions. It will just be repaired using existing and matching materials. There are solar PVs proposed to the rear elevation, which have already been a subject of conversation this morning. I think in its application. And the comments of those, of course, is voted by members. So then if we move on to look at what's proposed in terms of this scheme, obviously it's set out in the agenda there for you, but I'll briefly run through this for you. So on the lower floor, where all the existing delivery bays were and the storage facilities, that will remain pretty much as is, with remedial works to make it more usable. Bin and refuse storage facilities are proposed to the rear there. As you move on up to the ground floor, which is the level off of the high street, you can see there that you've got the area is opened up to provide a more usable communal space for proposed commercial activity, with the entrances to the flats remaining on the lower left side of the site. Air source heat pumps shown out here. So then as we move on up to the first and third floors, that shows us how the residential accommodation will be fitted into the building. As set out in the agenda there, these do meet national space standards for this type of accommodation. And we do have refuse facilities proposed and cycle storage facilities as well. That just we saw this in the existing plans, as you'd shown that conceptual view for you in terms of sections. The main change here you will see is there is a parapet that's being raised at the rear here, just in terms of health and safety. So if we move back to our agenda report, I'll highlight the key considerations or key matters that you need to consider here, members. The development plan policies are set out in the agenda, but the key thing we need to remember here is the property is in the main built form of Ilfracombe. Therefore, the principle of development is acceptable. Whilst the Ilfracombe policy also supports that in terms of spatial structure. Policy DM19 seeks to provide accommodation above ground floor properties in the high street, so very much support coming there. There is a slight conflict in terms of employment policies. The employment policies seek to retain employment that's existing. However, what you are looking here is a property that has been vacant for a number of years, and the only loss in commercial activity would be the social club element on the upper floor. So it was a very marginal loss, and we are, like I said, we are looking at a building that's been empty for a while, and therefore we don't think that materially impacts on the application. We are in a sustainable location. It's established, and therefore we are looking to say that the development is acceptable in principle, subject to all the other development management criteria, which we'll go on and look at. So in terms of the design, the Conservation Officer has supported the proposal. We're meeting national space standards. We've got solar panels going on the rear. All of these changes and design tweaks are considered to be acceptable in terms of your design and conservation area policies. and therefore it's accepted in that regard. Turning to amenity, obviously members, you need to be aware of amenity. Policy DMO1 and DMO2 allow for consideration of those issues. During the construction phase, we can address any potential issues there with planning conditions in terms of hours of operation and a construction management plan to address the representation received about maintaining access to a nearby property. Controlling the use class again will ensure that proposed occupiers are not subjected to unacceptable amenity. In terms of noise, obviously we are in an area here as picked up by the environmental health, it could be subject to noise from traffic and general exuberance, particularly on a Friday, Saturday night. And then the planning conditions to address that are recommended in terms of windows to bedrooms. And in that regard, I suggest that we add in a further planning condition to ensure that the windows are of appropriate sound rating to make sure there's no impact on amenity, and that will be achieved through secondary glazing and potentially ventilation systems. So therefore, members, in terms of amenity, considered to be acceptable. Ecology is considered to be acceptable given what we are dealing with in terms of this proposal. No issues in terms of flood risk are identified, given that we're dealing with an existing building, and no extensions are proposed, even though we are in a critical drainage area. Highways, town centre location, as I mentioned earlier, is a sustainable location. Cycle storage is proposed. We can address potential highway obstruction through a construction management plan during the construction phase. Highway Authority have not raised an objection. Given the alternative sustainable transport options, highway facilities are considered to be acceptable in terms of this application. We just need to move on and look at the other matters in terms of this application, which is to do with Section 106 contributions. Given the scale of development, affordable housing and education provision does not kick in. However, the applicant may decide to operate the site as a form of affordable housing, but that won't be controlled through the planning system, given the current policies. However, if we do look to approve the scheme, members, we would look to secure a financial contribution towards public open space, and that would be in the quantum of about £7,500 as set out in the report, and that would be secured through an appropriate legal mechanism, which your legal department would prepare. So therefore, Chair, bringing all that together, having regard to the above, the application is considered to accord with the adopted development plan as a whole, having regard to the 5-year housing land supply. We also consider it meets the duties detailed above in terms of the conservation area, etc. Therefore, members, it's a recommendation of approval, subject to the imposition of a legal agreement, as per the conditions set out on page 65 of your agenda, and the additional condition which I recommended earlier in my presentation in terms of noise attenuation. Thank you, Chair.
Questions? Josh.
Could you just go over the part again where you said about building considerations for while the construction's ongoing?
Yeah, as you see, I've suggested that a planning condition be imposed to make sure that the scheme is a good neighbour, i.e. we know what construction traffic is going to do. We're also looking at construction hours to make sure it doesn't impact on the neighbours as well.
Thank you.
If the dwellings were to be used for affordable housing, would it then be still necessary for the applicant to pay the S106 contribution, or would that be waived? Could that be waived?
In terms of what we're looking at here, we would still look to secure that financial contribution because our policy does not automatically allow it to be waived. Obviously, if the applicant sought to say there was a viability situation, we could then look at that. But as things stand at the moment, we will need to secure that public contribution because it is open market housing in terms of the planning system at this time, unfortunately.
Can I just pick up on that particular point? I've been nagged over a number of years that years ago we used to have a policy, didn't we, that excluded affordable housing from paying these sort of contributions because and I struggled to look through to find out where we decided to no longer do that. And I would appreciate somebody just letting me know why that policy.
Yeah, I do recall. So any affordable units didn't used to derive.
I don't remember ever making that decision. Was it under the SPG?
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. And I think it was to do as well. We didn't used to take education contributions as well,
Yeah.
but there was that change.
But that's something we could look at again in the local plan.
Yeah, that would be something good to look at.
Not too much exuberance there, either, do it?
Councillor Knight.
The lower ground floor, is that obviously going to, no, is that going to be part of the commercial on the ground floor, or would be separate?
Used as part of the ground floor for storage. They have got to do some works down there to make it dry, which to make it usable. And there will be the refuge storage facilities as well for the building as a whole down there. At the back.
Because that opens to the back way at the same level, yes, right. Thank you.
Okay. Just one question. The floor that is currently the social club, or was the social club, what exactly is happening there? Is there any detail of that?
So the social club will become flats as well. So that's
Oh, it will?
the first.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we have the commercial use, well, the commercial use on the lower ground floor, further commercial use on the ground floor, and the first floor, which where the social club was, that becomes flats.
Thank you. Over to the debate. Is there-
Thank you. Obviously I represent Ilfracombe, so I very much welcome this application. A lot of hard work has gone into it, as I'm sure members will appreciate. The post office side, Royal Mail, whatever you want to call it, has actually relocated up to Mullicott. So obviously that is now a totally redundant building, where before they used the building for sorted mail, etc. It no longer is used. So again, as I say, it is a very redundant building, and everybody that knows Ilfracombe will appreciate that this is in a very prominent site. As I say, I just welcome this. I think it's great that we've actually purchased a building and we're going to actually use it for something that's actually going to be of value to the residents. The commercial use, again, is an exciting proposal. And I just would like members to support this application and accept the recommendations contained in the report.
Are you moving in? Or-
Yes, please.
Second.
Okay, a vote. In favour? Okay. Councillor Davies can come back now.
All right, that room.
You can tell. I'm like, I love momentum yesterday.
When are the water service? The end of the bond debate.
Matt, I know it's finished, but are they going to keep the Royal Mail posting thing in the wall? I do hope so.
Elevation. I'm sure they won't do.
I'm there, so I could go and have a
Is that Easter Coombe or should it be Easter Coombe?
Oh, I think I spelled it wrong though.
That's
Should be Easter Coon. Yeah, I've got Easter. I don't know. Easter. Yeah, it should be an A. Well done, Malcolm. Oh. That was me last night. I've got loads of appeals still. But you and me, Ben.
He's been dethroned as the king of grammar, hasn't he?
well, there you are.
It's not grammatical, Josh. It's an Esper.
The chair knows that.
Just a reminder, it's still being recorded.
Yeah.
Just
Too much exuberance.
We're just gonna have to start cutting random bits of the meeting out.
This way. Yeah.
Talk about it now, because last time, you look, when it was right at the very end, but nobody's in a rush to.
Write more applications next time.
Designing more building.
Picture of Pete's picture. Like the new Venice.
Sorry. Members, so item 9, review of the 2025 and new planning committee site visits. Reviewing past planning decisions and outcomes. Thought from
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you want me to say about this. Obviously, thank you so much for the members that provided comments. There was quite a few of you, which is great that you, and I literally sort of I cut and paste those in, not edited them at all. And I did actually included some photos, which I thought was quite nice. And it looks like, I think we discussed it yesterday, a beautiful day.
really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, and a bit lovely. Yeah, I mean, I think from sort of what came of it, I think particularly the land that's given across for the 59 dwellings was something, you know, there was some really positives coming out of that. I think particularly a lot and the church views. And that's a public open space area to separate the development. You know, it was really something that I think members took from that in terms of that positivity, in terms of that layout and sort of lowering the density, which, you know, I know can't always work on every site in terms of kind of economic. And I think the first site that we looked at, which was land that's given, I think we had the developer come and speak to us, didn't they, and saying actually they wish they hadn't looked at sort of large properties in terms of those 3 and 4 dwellings. They didn't have any sort of 2, 3, but they were struggling to sell. And I think that's reflective of the market. I think they had a bit more of a challenging site, sort of a long sort of thin site, which I think, you know, again, they had problems with. But I think it was really clear that the market wasn't there. I mean, I'm hoping in this year, perhaps with interest rates going down, potentially that the market will pick up. And I think in terms of Southern Extension, you know, obviously it was very much start, wasn't it? It would be great to maybe go back and revisit that once, you know, things have been developed. It was great they had a community hall. I think members kind of picked up there was quite a mix of different styles and materials, which some people liked and some people didn't. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I hope you all found it really useful in terms of looking at major developments and looking at what works and perhaps what doesn't work. And that's really what this tour should be providing. And then, you know, when we have schemes coming, that, you know, we can look at practical terms of how things work. I think we've already got a list, haven't we, for this June, in terms of probably more related to the south, sort of Witheridge, perhaps North Moulton, South Moulton. So I think we've already got some sites that we're going to go and have a look at. Anything to add?
Yeah, but did anyone have any comments then?
Not about I found even though I didn't take my wheelchair with me, and should have done. I did find it really useful to actually see sort of what's been built out. I'm particularly impressed with the second site at Chennai. I thought that was very nicely built.
Yeah.
And would definitely support going to sort of the south of the district next time. Particularly interested in looking at some of the is it possible to look at some of the estates in that area that have failed?
Yeah, yeah, as well. Yeah. So we can find things that perhaps we could have done better.
Yeah.
If you've got suggestions.
One North Moulton that's I don't know if it's still stalled, but it's certainly stalled for a very
We
long
were going to look at the new one next to the primary school. So equally, we could look at the one that's stalled. I mean, unfortunately, there's been some bankruptcy issues and things as well, which hasn't helped. But we can certainly look at the one that's stalled and kind of the frustrations and how perhaps we can help developers when they get into that area. I think there is also one in South Molton as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
By the old Quince Honey Farm, which equally has had the same issue. So yeah, we can certainly look at that and see how we can
Interesting history, that on it.
how we can help. Yeah.
You're talking about the Chichester Home one in Chibnall. There's something about size of sites, isn't there? And I mean, obviously they're a local developer, and I mean, yet not yesterday, day before, we were talking a strategy committee about the success of Pierce's work for us in the future high streets. And there's something about smaller sites. And I mean, in the local plan, I know we're looking for huge numbers, but we ought to be looking at sort of having, if we're going to allocate 300 houses, we ought to be looking at having segments of it so that the planning process turns it into smaller phases that allow local and regional builders to bid for them and get involved. Because I think that is important for our local economy and would be justified in my view.
I do, going on from Councillor Prowse's point, I think absolutely that you get a bit more individuality and a bit more of a better mix if it's not all one developer.
Yeah.
I suppose for me, one of the questions, and if I think about some of the larger applications, large allocations, about making sure that when those are developed bit by bit, and I agree with what we both say, that we need to make sure that we are able to justify collection with Section 106 agreements, particularly for road infrastructure. I think about Larkville and we problems around there. We're struggling with that. So it'll be interesting to see how you deal with that.
The same with Bar 1. You know, where we've ended up with viability challenges, whereas if that had been done incrementally, people could have made that work.
Yeah.
In my view, I just
to learn from Larkbeer and Bar 1.
It's done on very large sites. It's common. I don't think that they're doing it when you're talking about 4,000 or 5,000. They'll give different developers or architects opportunity to design bits in different ways, and that normally pleases more people. That's a night.
Yeah. Interesting. The dynamics have changed here, haven't they? Have you noticed? I have. We must have planning here more often because it becomes a little bit more informed. Now we've diverted from the comments. Can I make a comment about the comment I didn't send? Because now's the opportunity for me to bang on again about it's my ward, this site in Chibnall. Two things. That damned roundabout. I'll say it because nothing can be done about it, but I think it's one of the most absurd decisions DCC have ever made. And secondly, the one-way system on Henton Hill, which has been banging on for about 3 years. I just think it's such a shame that I can't make any progress on this at all. And it's not your fault, but I thought I'd bang it in there.
That's the county.
No, I know. It's just madness, that's just plaguing me.
Okay. I'll just wrap that up because I thought it was really
great idea. Sorry, absolutely.
It was really good to see different developments, although potentially similar. They were all extremely different. And the small matter of leaving that green space for that view of the church and the way that opened the development up made it feel very relaxed. Good quality materials and the fact that the affordables were indistinguishable. They made it a really good development, and they deserve to sell those because it's a quality development, no matter where it is and whether they're around. Issues.
dodgy planning consultant.
So, which tells me when we're looking at plans, not all of those things are necessarily evident, are they? The importance of leaving the gap, or the importance of green space, and the importance of the materials. Is we're looking at plans, we're looking at words, but actually in reality, just the fencing, and the brickwork and the slate made a huge difference to that development. And the pagodas in the back garden, it's a whole series of, they're not necessarily expensive things. They might be slightly more expensive than the normal, but it's a huge difference on the quality of the development and the environment that they're leaving. So I thought that was really helpful. And we'll close off with Simon Maddox.
I was just going to say, because when we were talking to the developer, he said that they didn't really want that opening, but now that it was done, he said it was so pleased that it had been.
Of course, they followed the Hegnamix the two beds, which they were a little bit reluctant to, and they actually, I think, kind of almost went to say, sort of saved their company.
Yeah.
With the two beds were sort of flying out.
Mm.
So, you know, that I think that was really important as well, that mixed community, like, you know, different societies, you know, I think it's really important as well.
I can't drive down there without looking through the gap. Okay, so that's great. So is it June that we're?
June, yeah,
hoping?
so this year, yeah.
Okay,
And
so-
if you have any suggestions, I think we've done quite a lot in the north. I think there is a drive to go sort of south of the district, which is great. So, you know, North Malton, South Malton, Riveridge, I think has been mooted. I think Councillor Bullard has asked for us to go to North Malton. If you've got anything sort of near there that you want to have a look at, then please let me know, and we can, you know, we did it free, which I think was fine, but I think previously you did a bit more, didn't you? I didn't go to the last one because I had an operation, but
Yeah, we did quite a few.
yeah, so
I'm interested in dragging you guys to a couple near Chumley, but it
Okay.
would depend on what.
yeah,
What do you do with you, of course, is it?
Nothing to do with me. Yeah. That's all right.
We've got some suggestions for June, so, but if you have anything else that you want us to look at, then we could put it on the next, you know, I think for me, and I'm sure for you, it's so useful just going out, having a look. I think it's invaluable to actually see how these developments.
Yeah, we look all the time, don't we? But it's actually putting it in a framework and then.
Informal chat
Yeah,
together is
exactly.
really helpful, isn't it?
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to item 10, to consider if any planning site inspection are required. I'm not aware of any. And then item 11 is the appeal report, so that is exactly more for that.
So bear with me, and I think as I get less full transparency, I probably haven't done as much work. As quite a few, and Matt may come and assist me if he knows a little bit more in terms of your team. So we've got the first one, which is dismissed. So that was the planning and principle, which we know about, don't we, in terms of the 5 dwellings that land at Eastercombe. Apologies, my spelling mistake. Should be in Barnstable. So Eastercombe is the hamlet. Councillor Coombs, this is probably your area, is it, Eastercombe? So the application sought planning permission in principle for 5 dwellings. You can see the location plans outlined in red, and I haven't outlined it here, but it's that field strip where Matt's looking at there. And you can see some of the sites. So it's very rural, countryside. So as we know, we can only look at location, land use and advantage development. The application was refused due to it being in the countryside, remote from rural services. And so the planning officer refused it for detracting from, you can see a prevailing sort of linear development of Eastercombe, and that actually would then break away and would lose that open field and sort of visual break from the existing built form. So the planning inspectorate, as you can see in the report, was quite concerned about the unsustainable location of the 5 dwellings, and he also has concerns about the harmful encroachment into the countryside, and the conflict with policy SPO7 he felt carried significant weight. So that was dismissed. So the next one.
Can I just ask what percentage of that field was taken up then? Because
So only the top half, actually.
Well,
You can see the red outline, can't you?
yeah,
So you can see where the road
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
So that
yeah,
top
yeah.
half was where, which, you know, for 5 dwellings, actually, that's quite a big site.
could they come back at a later date for
They may.
a more
Yeah,
affordable?
yeah, and also I would have probably done it more in terms of the road,
If
but
those
to
people
keep
were
that
wrong.
linear, but that, yeah.
Okay.
But they may come in, and I don't know. But the key was that it's not sustainable. Eastercombe didn't have services and facilities, and it is clear, I think, the MPPF, that other settlements can rely on other settlements, but actually there wasn't any nearby settlements that would, I don't know, have a school that would take those 5 dwellings. So although we haven't got a 5-year housing land supply, I think a really key thing that is coming through from planning appeals is that it's not just development anywhere. There is really that sustainable location coming in, and PINs are really picking up on that. And I think the MPPF is as well. But if it's an unsustainable location, then even if we haven't got, you know, even if we had, you know, less than what we've got now in terms of our 5-year housing land supply, that's not what the MPPF is seeking. So I think it's a really good message coming through from that appeal. So the next one Matt may know a little bit more than me, is a retrospective application for the erection of a hydro pool. And where was this, Matt? It was.
It's on the bottom.
So we granted planning permission essentially for the hydro pool. But the planning officer had some concerns. So the hydro pool, there was also some alterations to the boundary wall. So I think what you can see is the visibility concerns from the officer. When you you can see the old boundary wall. Actually, you could probably look and see the highways coming, traffic coming through. They put it to I think 1.5 originally, hadn't they? So we put a condition to say within 1 month they had to reduce it to 0.75, I think, wasn't it, in the terms of condition. So I guess it's really important that planning conditions can also be appealed. So if an applicant doesn't think it's reasonable or necessary, you know, I will talk about tests about planning conditions, they can appeal those planning conditions and say this isn't reasonable or necessary. I don't know, Matt, if you want to come in. I think Pins, if you want to.
Yeah, I think in terms of this one, we were concerned about that visibility of the property. I think it's Torville to the west there. You know, when they're using their driveway, their visibility is really constrained because of this wall. So therefore, we applied the condition. So if you're sat in your car, you can see out over, and that's what was there originally. You can see the height of the stone wall, which did front the application site as well. You know, so we did think it was reasonable to put that on. It's a shame the inspector didn't support us and alter the height. But what is interesting in paragraph 9 there is she said when she stood at the appeal site, she didn't say she sat in her car. She said appeal site. Obviously, that's a different height. You know, if you're stood and not sat in her car, whether it's term phrase in the reports now.
I guess what she also thought was you could put a 1 metre wall up under this development. I guess that's probably where she felt there was like that fallback position, and why she probably amended it to then a metre. You know,
we are
well.
But county didn't have a problem.
So we didn't, I think it was standing advice originally, but we did contact them through in the planning appeal, didn't we? But they said that they didn't have any issues. So they weren't willing to support us. So, yeah. So yeah, they notwithstanding, yeah. So basically the condition's been amended, so shall not exceed 1 metre. I'm not going to lose any sleep on it. You know, yeah, we are.
SUVs you would see over a metre, wouldn't you? It's an ordinary saloon car.
A bit lower down, isn't it? Okay. So the next one was removal of single glazed softwood sash windows and door and replace UPVC. So this is 10 Rockcliffe Court in Cape Capstone Fart Road, Ilfracombe. So this was actually a split decision. So we allowed the UPVC to the front elevation, but the rear elevation, we didn't. We said that actually it should be timber in terms of that kind of preserving that and enhancing the conservation area, the conservation area. So the inspector, I thought, overall concluded that there would be a sort of a neutral kind of element of it, and felt that actually the local distinctiveness, I think he pointed out there was other kind of UPVC properties of that type, and felt that overall, as I say, there was a neutral balance about preserving the effect on the appearance and character of the conservation area. So allowed also the southern element to have UPVC. So I mean, and I think probably Matt, you know, equally, we do try and preserve conservation areas as much as we can in terms of that timber. You know, and we have been challenged. We have been challenged a few times now, haven't we? I think Colette, you know, is really on that crusade of trying to preserve conservation areas in terms of not having UPVC. But not in this one, you know, we weren't successful.
You know my challenge, Trace. I've had a long debate over the last 12 months, 18 months with Colette.
Yeah.
About, I mean, I think PVC is a disaster. It's not right for the environment to use, but we've got to be a bit more flexible, in my view, about the timber options that are available. You now get these vacuum units that are being made now, where you're double glazed, but there's only 1 millimetre between them. but there's little specks that if you get really close, you can see those specks where the two sheets of glass are joined together. And Colette, and I think to be fair to her, the advice seems the same from English Heritage. I think they're out of date. But so they're resisting even using those that read completely like single glazing in my view. So you can ask people reasonably to replace their timber windows with these vacuum units, which are actually more efficient than the ones with 4mm or 6mm cavities in them. You know, they're much better U value. So I struggle to understand why English Heritage, it's not really Colette's fault, but in this sort of situation where you're in a conservation area and you've got flats that only need permission, but houses don't, and we get all this conflict on. I just think we perhaps ought to look again at that. I took Tracy out to see my dear old mate John Fantle by North Malton and his joinery work. He's passionate about trying to promote these timber windows with vacuum units. And if you were going that way, you know, on the planning trip, you'll have to be really firm with John, otherwise you're there for all day. But it would be if we're going to North Malton, pop in and just see these double glazed units that are, you know, they've got these vacuum double glazed units in them.
I think before I left last time, I did a new sort of unit there. We've got the grass.
Yeah,
and I haven't actually
it's fun.
They actually might
Fantastic,
do that
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Well, they all want them.
I think you might have, so I'll come back to you, Councillor. You think I've expressed my feelings on UPVC previously, but that it's interesting if you look at the description in italics. It's quite glamorised, but rotten, decaying, and unsafe painted windows.
Yes.
They play the card that painted timber needs an annual maintenance. Well, that depends, one, what wood it is, and two, what it's painted with, and it's not necessarily true. But the big thing, two big things on the UPVC are, one, the nature of the product itself. It's non-recyclability, hazardous, but also the look in terms of the mouldings. You can't achieve the intricacy of the mouldings, and the frames are always chunkier. And they may have improved a little bit, but they're never going to look the same as a period timber window, in my mind. So I think it's very disappointing that the appeal's gone through, and I think we should stick to our guns and justify those reasons where we can.
Each case on its merits, Chair. That's what we'll do.
We always want to learn things from appeals, and we ultimately don't want allowed appeals. But you know, but we do get them. But you know, I think we have to take something from them. But yeah, I think what Matt says is it is each case in its own merits, and there will be some cases that we know we just won't win, but there will be some cases where we will fight. You know,
it's incremental change, isn't it? You know, or the neighbour's got one, or the neighbour two door down. It's back. We're back to the
I think
the previous application on an open field, where you chink a bit in the corner, and
it's a little bit of a lottery, unfortunately, of what planning inspectorate we get and how, you know, their views on, you know, UPVC.
Councillor Lane.
At the end of the day, we're moving forward, and it is UPVC. It's not wood. And quite honest with you, I mean, if you stand back, you can't tell the difference between wood or UPVC. That's the difference. So, in an area where you're talking about, yeah, it is. In an area like Ilfracombe, where you've got 3 or 4 stories, you don't want to be trying to maintain that at a later date because of health and safety and all the rest of it. So, you know, there is some merit in using UPVC. Where some people don't like it, that's choice, of course. But to be honest with you, softwood windows, I got a place where there's softwood windows been made up special because it was in the conservation area, which is rotten away. In quite honest with you, it does not last unless you want to go down the road of using hardwood or something like that. But then it's only so good as what you maintain it.
You laminate. I mean, the thing with, if you go to Scandinavia, they're all timber windows, and they're laminated, so that if you do get any rot, you only get rot on the top, sort of very small layer, back to the first laminate, and then you can actually repair them. You know, we are light years behind other countries in terms of technology.
Yeah.
And can I just, without being poor about my vacuum double glazed unit, but that allows you then to plant glazing bars on the top. without you being, I mean, and that's one of the big issues, that they don't look right on the top of, but I mean, all those, I don't know, it's, I don't agree with Glyn on this, but
What's new?
We've all got.
I just think if you buy quality wooden windows, they will last.
I'll give you.
Can you take it outside the meeting, you guys?
Yeah, but we all are on the same page at the end of the day, trying to benefit with the planning system.
Yeah, we want things to look nice as well.
Yeah, and in particular in the conservation area, but you know, we win some, we lose some, we tried and yeah, we weren't successful in this instance.
So that brings us to land between Southlands and number one. Close.
I was just gonna say one thing, the one point I'd like to advise, confirm that procedurally that we can issue a split decision.
Yeah.
I think that we've done for a long time.
We've got a split decision for him.
Yeah. It proves we can do it.
So this one was an outline application for erection of 2 dwellings and access in Sherwell, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. I mean, I think to refer to the case officer, originally it came in for 3, didn't it? So you can see the 1, 2, and then there was another dwelling on that rear field here, which we recommended refusal, and I think was it last minute they came in and amended it to 2. So the case officer recommended refusal in regards to that kind of departing from that existing linear pattern form of the village. Going into the open countryside, there was also, this is lovely DM23, which we're all very familiar with, in terms of that policy, not being led by affordable housing. So PINS kind of came back and said, while layout is indicative, they felt sort of retaining the hedgerow near the middle would push housing further into the open countryside. They felt that sort of roadside plot was reasonable, it would be well related. They did recognise that there was conflict with policy DM23. They kind of went into the planning balance you see in terms of kind of that social element and paragraph 11D. And they were looking at affordable housing focused on what they felt of major development rather than process this scale, which I don't think is quite right. But hey, and the social benefit of housing delivery and carrying significant weight. There will be limited economic benefits. But some, and they balanced it that the adverse, they felt that the benefits would outweigh that adverse impacts, and the proposal would amount to sustainable development. I don't know if you want to add anything.
I think a lot of this was to do with the character here. We went back and looked at the aerial photos from the RAF flew in the 40s as well, and the original boundary is here, which was that hedge line here. So we thought going outside of that really wasn't justified. Because there was that change, whereas when this was all developed, it was slightly different. You weren't pushing through that existing hedgerow which was there. So we felt we were justified in refusing that one. But obviously, the planning inspector won't be.
I think the 3 wouldn't have worked, so I can kind of see where they've been.
So the only other thing is down here there is 2 properties which are tandem and don't face the road, which does sort of alter the argument. No, this is.
Yeah.
Any comments? Members? No? Thank you.
So the next one's quite an unusual one. It's tree preservation application, which we haven't had any appeal for many years on tree preservation. And obviously we've got Andrew Van Kuuteren, who's our tree officer.